No judgment, just raw and unfiltered answers. Starting now on the He Said What show with your host, Simply Bree.
Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining this evening. You have tuned into He Said What? I am your host, Simply Bree, and this evening we are going to be discussing a very important topic. I feel, especially right now during the pandemic, is very vital that we get into the minds of men and how the transition from the single life to the married life to even being a father, how does that affect men, right? How does that really work with you guys? So I am going to have my wonderful guest Kareem Baldwin. He will be joining us in just a moment. I just want to let you guys know, first of all, if you are interested in advertising on the show, please make sure you guys send your inquiries to ads at ads at simplybree.com. My head is all over the place. Once again, that's ads at simplybree.com. I'm trying to figure it all out today. It's is it Tuesday? I think it's Tuesday. Yes. So without any other type of interruption, let's go ahead and bring up the guest himself, Mr. Kareem Baldwin. Good evening, sir.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
How's it going?
Good. Everything's good. Can't complain. Um, living the married slash dad life as the top saying. So
Yes. Oh my gosh.
but it's good. I can't complain. Life is good. I'm blessed. So got no issues. So that's good.
Congratulations to you and that handsome baby. Oh my gosh.
Everyone's saying that about him. I'm like, he looks like me though. So it works out.
Don't do that to him. Listen.
I'm like, he's handsome like his dad. So it works out. That's what I tell everyone. So.
Oh my god. He is gonna be a heartbreaker, man. Oh
Yeah, that's everyone. Everyone loves that kid, so it's good.
yeah. And it's cool that you guys intertwine him with the business. Like your wife, she's always on Instagram. And he just looks so chill. Like he does not act like a baby. He act like a girl.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't, which is crazy. So we're like kind of getting him used to being in front of the cameras and kind of getting that stuff, all out of his system. Because who knows what technology will be, when he's 17, 18. So
Man.
getting him up to speed on that early, I think is good for him.
Yeah. So tonight's topic is all about marriage and children. Oh, I should have said married with children. That would have been perfect. But you only have one. So married with children is the topic, keeping the spark alive during the transition. So oh my god, I don't know where to start because I have so many questions. Like, as a man, when you are single, right? You're living the single life and you're enjoying it. Not a lot of men entertain the thought of a relationship, especially like when they're in their 30s, because there's a lot of things that they want to get done. So when you go from the single to bachelor lifestyle to getting into a relationship, what kind of adjustments did you find yourself having to make?
It was basically the adjustment of like having another person that you have to like answer to,
Yeah.
kind of check in with and kind of let them know what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
hey, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. So, I got with my wife now, it's 26.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, as older as like, some of the other guys are. But
Right.
I started my bachelor thing like when I was like 18.
Yeah.
So I kind of went through all that, had the blog,
Yeah.
a lot of guys hit me up for dating advice. So I
Yes.
did all of that. So, I kind of made the choice, like, you know what, I'm looking for a relationship. So then I kind of started tailoring like who I would interact with and
Right.
I would interact with them. So once I was ready to kind of be in a relationship, then I kind of started interacting with women differently,
Yeah.
not, just kind of people
Uh-oh.
say, do this. No, I was more of just, be yourself. I think we're back.
Yeah, you were
So the
frozen.
transition was just, yeah, I'm back. So yeah, no, to the transition though, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be because mentally I was ready for a relationship. So, once I met, a couple girls that I was like, you know what, these are gonna be like my final choices. I don't know if you're supposed to say that or not, but that's just so I had like my final choices and I was like, you know what, all right, she's gonna be the one. So I'm gonna, ask her, hey, do you want to be in a relationship? And so I took it back to, the fifth grade, like really,
Right.
so
I'm I'm like, do guys still act like? Cause I mean, it's almost like a foreign thing now. Like you just fall into it.
yeah, it was so long ago for me. So, I don't know what guys do now. But
Yeah.
back then it was, I don't like to leave stones unturned. So
Right.
I'm not going to assume anything. So I like to, hey,
Keep it clear.
we on the same page with this. And yeah, she said yes. And, the rest is history.
Wow. So, okay, that part right there, though, going back to the process, and it's not just so that we are all clear. This we're not saying it's a process of elimination, but it's trying to figure out the mind of men. Like, how do you determine that out of three women, this woman right here is the one that I am willing to um take a stab at a relationship
I think it's someone that you can see yourself like growing with and kind of someone that's gonna like help you mo- keep climbing up that ladder that you have for yourself. So I
with.
think kind of you having your own set of expectations and then okay, which woman I should say am I going to be with that's going to kind of, allow me to keep doing what I need to do. Because I think as a man you have to have like your own path in life and certain things that you have to accomplish, and
Yeah.
dating the wrong woman or getting into the relationship with the wrong woman that can jeopardize that. For example, we do business together, but I started the business stuff first before I met her. So just understanding that grind, like understanding like, hey, there's work that needs to get put in. So
Right.
you may not be able to hang out every day or talk every day or do certain things that other people are doing, but it's gonna get to that time where it will all be worth it. So just someone that understood that, and she just allowed me to, be a man, to do what I needed to do, to lead and to make things happen. So I think that's why it worked out. Well, it's still working out for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Understanding. Ooh, understanding is a big thing, and that's a big part of communicating when it comes to relationships, especially when there's entrepreneurship within the relationship because everyone doesn't want to be a business owner. Some people are okay just being a 9 to 5er. That's perfectly fine. So
Mhm.
when you combine both worlds or you take two entrepreneurs and you bring them into the same household or even under the same roof, it's kind of like you got to have that understanding where you're on the same page. Like, you
Yeah.
know,
So what
you gotta be open with the expectations.
Yes. So when I met my wife, she wasn't in, she like that wasn't even something on her mind. It was more of, I'm a teacher and, I'm just going to do this and kind of go to work and do the 9 to 5 thing. But for me, I knew that was never going to be able to work for like a significant other for me.
Right.
I'm like type A personality, as they would say.
Okay.
So I'm like pretty demanding. Like I ask a lot, and I knew that there was no way that, you know, my significant other would have a boss all day and then have to come home and now still kind of interact with me. I knew it would never work, because if you're at your job all day answering to someone, then you come home and you have to answer to someone else. It's
Right.
just not gonna work. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I have to be with someone that I can't have my wife have another boss. Like, just not gonna work for me. So she needs to be her own boss so she can see, you know, what that takes, and then she'll understand it more. So I knew that, you know, with how I am, it was never gonna work, because then we would have to break up. Because
Hmm.
just be, hey, you know, I'm tired when I come home, like I'm stressed out, or my boss is texting me, and
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, so what are we doing? Dinner, food, like what's going on, household stuff, and then
Yeah.
you're kind of burnt from work. It just wasn't gonna work out for me. I'm like that. It just can't happen.
Right. So, with the adjustments that you ended up making for the sake of the relationship, as far as growing into the relationship, what role do you think those adjustments played on you as an individual, as well as you as a partner in a relationship?
It was big, because you have that adjustment period. I don't know if like moving in is gonna be a question. So like with me, when we got together, we didn't live together. And then I was like, all right, well, you know, I need to live with the person that I'm gonna progress in a relationship with, just because I need to see where things go. I know, like, I'm Caribbean, she's Caribbean too. So Caribbean background, like, you don't really move in with someone until you're married. I'm pretty sure Black American culture is the same way. Like,
Mhm.
your family wants you to kind of be in like a serious relationship before you move in. And I'm
Right.
like, well, we need to determine if we can get to that step
Right.
in, and just seeing where things go. So moving in was an adjustment, and it was just living with someone else, because I always lived on my own since I was like 18. So when I got with her, being 26, like I was already used to doing everything on my own. So
Right.
just those adjustments on, all right, well, who's gonna do the laundry, and who's gonna cook? And I'm working late, you're working late, like, you know,
Right.
because you're a guy, you're like, oh, I'm not doing anything. And then,
Right.
like, well, I guess I should do something. Like, my significant other worked all day and I didn't work today, so, you know, I guess I can do something. So
Hmm.
those first
Can help out.
those first couple months was like, all right, I think I need to start like helping out a little. So that was the biggest transition, is kind of not doing everything on your own time. That was the biggest thing I would say, is not doing everything on your own time, kind of blending times together.
Okay. So that's so funny. He's like, I'm not doing anything. I can help
Yeah.
out. Why not? So, are there any type of adjustments that men are typically afraid of? Like before going into a relationship, did you have any type of reservations where you were just like, listen, if I get into a relationship or I settle down with this one chick, I'm just not going with this, or I'm not changing this about me, or I'm not going to do anything different outside of who I am. What are there anything like that that
Oh,
goes through the mind of men?
I think so. At least for me, I'm like, well,
Yeah,
that to me, it went back to that whole, like, she can't have another boss. Like,
yeah.
you have to do something with me. So that was something that was like, I couldn't walk away from that.
Mhm.
And another big thing for me was like someone that was like comfortable in their own skin,
Okay,
someone that was confident in like what they were doing.
okay.
So confidence for me was big, because I'm very confident. I feel like I am. Uh, so I wanted someone else that kind of had those same characteristics as me. I know people say like opposites attract, what they do, but you definitely want to have certain things in common. At least that's what I thought. So for me, that's what worked for me.
Yeah.
So I would say yes, you should have certain things that you won't bend on.
Okay.
And I think that's part of like the whole vetting process of a relationship. Because before we got in a relationship, we were kind of dating for about 8 months. Uh,
Okay.
I know people that say, hey, you should wait 2 years, or, you know, there's certain timelines of what people say you should do. For me, I felt 8 months was a good time.
Okay.
I was kind of still dating other women at the same time. And kind of figuring out what I was going to do. So yeah, that's how that went.
That's interesting. So how did that work? Where okay, you were dating other women at the same time. How did she feel about it?
I could tell she wasn't like as happy about it, of course. But I think what worked was that I was very upfront about it. It wasn't like, some random messages in my phone or anything.
Yeah,
I was respectful. I wasn't, hey, I'm hanging out with this person today or anything like that. So
your days Mondays and
yeah,
Wednesdays.
I wasn't doing anything like that. So I think by keeping it respectful and just, you know, protecting myself and kind of sticking to certain rules that you should do. I think that's what I would say made it easier for her. But I knew that she wasn't like, okay, I'm gung ho about this,
Yeah,
but she knew that she saw the relationship potential that we could have. So I think that's kind of where she was like, well, kind of makes sense for me to stay
stick through it. Yeah.
because he's gonna get into a relationship with someone. So I wanted to be me, and
Oh, that's so cute. Oh
that's
my goodness.
so.
Okay. So now, because we all know, whew, especially here in Atlanta. Oh my god.
I'm in New York, so I don't know
Listen,
different.
yeah, woo, don't come down here. Let me tell you, down here in Atlanta, when a woman finds out that you are even entertaining another chick, the claws come out like they want you even more. Like
I think
it's
that's women in general. I think just
yeah,
to want to, because you want someone that someone like that other people want. Just because you
right.
know that, all right, well, this guy has to have something, and all right, let me try to take him or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull them, if I can bag them. So, how did you actually handle the temptations as a man once you found your future wife?
I think it's just a mindset type of thing because you're gonna go. I meet people. You flirt with people, but I think you just have a line that you just don't cross.
Mhm.
So I think like one-on-one stuff. Like I don't hang out with women, just me and them.
Yeah,
We all like group stuff. Or I think if you keep the real barriers, I know a lot of people say like guy friends and girlfriends, which I was always against, like the opposite sex of friends.
yeah,
I knew that we could never really be friends.
yeah.
Maybe we're, of course, one of us has to like each other.
Mhm.
So I know the whole like we're friends type of thing is really never friends. So I don't really have any women that I would say are my friends.
Mhm.
People, I can say like, hey, that girl's my friend, but are we really friends? No.
Right.
Associates, yes, hang out with groups and everyone loves each other, and my wife hangs out with us, definitely. But
Yeah.
I don't have any like women that I would say like, oh, that's my best friend, or
That's
she's
my bestie.
yeah, like I don't have anything like that. So I think that is one of the biggest things like for men is to kind of just, you got to separate all that stuff. You got to I guess not want that type of attention and energy of, I'm just going to flirt and, go crazy. So I think
Yeah.
that was a big part of it. Plus I lived that life already, so I think you come to that point where it's all right, well, I'm either going to be in like an open relationship or, I'm going to be in a closed relationship.
Right.
So
How do you even decide that? Open or closed?
I think it's the guy,
Okay.
and the girl, what they want, what their expectations are for each other. For me, I knew I wanted a close relationship because I wouldn't want, someone else dating my wife. That's just not for me. So, because you can't,
Not happening.
yeah, you can't have it just you're the only one doing something. So if you open that up to, hey, I'm in an open relationship, well then, now your significant other is going to have the same opportunities as you have. And
Right.
I'm like, to me, I think my wife is like a 10. So I'm like, all right, well, I don't really want her out there because I know it's just that's what happens when you're in that open relationship, anything goes. So I
Right.
just, that wasn't gonna work for me.
Patrice is smart man.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I'm like, you know what? I'll sacrifice and then, just stay with one woman. So that works for me.
Gotcha. So now, of course, anytime a woman mentions marriage, some men are like, not really trying to entertain that. Why do you think when it comes to even getting married, something just as that topic alone can either push a man away or have him really sitting there like, I don't really think that I'm interested in that. Even though they could possibly, get tied a knot later on down the road, but it's just something about the commitment of marriage that men just feel once you get married, you put a title on it, everything changes.
Yeah, because even when I got married, like before, like all my friends that weren't married were like, "Yeah, are you sure? She's gonna change or she's gonna switch it up before marriage." And I was confident that that wouldn't happen because of what I said prior to is that you have to have that part of your relationship where that if you guys are progressing, then things should stay the same to a certain degree. Of course, when you're married, things change, but it shouldn't change as far as like what you're allowed to do. Or okay, well, now I can't go out anymore. I can't talk to this person. I can't talk to that person. I can't do this. Like, so to
Right.
me, that was never something that was on the table. Because what we spoke about before we got married, I think with guys, the marriage part is when it gets serious. Last name, documents, paperwork, financial stuff. So, because to me, I would say, and other people that I listen to and I respect, men choose marriage, not women. So I 100% agree with that. Is that the man has to choose marriage? You can want to marry someone, but you can't get married unless he agrees to marry you, and he has to marry you. So you can't just get married. Well, people get married to themselves, but that's a different topic. I'm talking about as
Right.
far as like man woman type of thing. Is that man choose. So I think that's what happens to a lot of guys that they don't really get that part of it, so they feel pressured instead of well, it's ultimately your decision, so you shouldn't feel pressured. So I think that's a big part, guys in marriage.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's always a hot topic. And it's interesting because even like
Now you're
with me
frozen.
being I'm frozen. But even with me
Yeah, you're back. You're
being,
back. You're back. You're back. It's why it's. I'm.
it could just be the reception. Um, so even with
Yeah.
me as a single, it's the reception. As a single female, it's like you kind of become a little hesitant in trying to even talk about marriage with someone that you are getting to know because you don't want them to feel pressured like, hey, yeah, I want to get married. So you got about a good 12 months to make this happen. It's like that's not necessarily the case. It's good to talk about your long-term goals because you may want marriage in the long-term goals and the other person may not. They may just not be into it like that or they may not see themselves being committed to one person. They may be poly and you're over here, with your own little monogamous self, and you're on two totally different pages. So I think that it just, when it comes to marriage and that long term solid commitment, it it can definitely turn some people off. So you just really got to know who it is that you're talking to and who you're getting to know. At the end of the day, that's just what it is. So
Yeah. So my advice to women that want, because I feel like majority of women want marriage. So I think if the only reason why you should bring up marriage is if it's something that you don't want. So I think the guy would, you expect that she's gonna want to get married. So I think talking about, first getting a committed relationship, like, hey, I'm looking for that exclusive, just us relationship. I
right,
think that's your way of saying I want to get married.
yeah,
Without saying it, I don't think you have to say like, hey, I want to get married because it's kind of like, of course you do.
yeah,
Oh, that's what I would say to women is, you don't have to announce that you want to get married. We kind of assume that already. So the only way to assume it is if you said, "Hey, I don't want to get married." Then I'm like, "Oh, all right." She doesn't
yeah.
want. So
That would be interesting for a woman not to want to get married and a man wants to get married. And I'm sure it happens all the time.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah. So, what we're going to do is we are going to take a quick commercial break. You guys are watching and listening to He Said What with myself, Simply Bree, and our guest, Mr. Kareem Baldwin. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Make sure you guys put your comments in the chat box, questions that you may have for our guest, and we will make sure that he addressed it. So we will return. Be right back. Hey, it's your girl Simply Bree, and I want to make sure you are one of our subscribers for YouTube because He Said What Radio Network is not slacking, okay? Every Monday, check us out on Simply Sports with One Mike, RG, and myself as we give you some of the best coverage when it comes to sports, news, and stats. Plus, we're throwing in intellectual conversation. Who can beat that? Tuesdays, He Said What radio show with myself and one special guest where I'm giving you what men think from their own perspectives. And then Wednesdays, we have the Truth Serum with myself and two special invited guests where we are bridging the gap in communication between men and women. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. We look forward to seeing you. All right, we are back. You guys have tuned into He Said What with your host Simply Bree and our guest Kareem Baldwin. And tonight we are talking about marriage and children, keeping that spark alive during the transition. So, we have learned a lot already, and this is just the first half with our guest. Now, going from a single man to a bachelor, kind of same thing, into a relationship, then into marriage. How was that transition for you?
It wasn't, like I said before, it wasn't as like bad or crazy as other people were making it seem. I think another thing too is that we had like a longer engagement. So for me, it's all about like levels to relationships.
Okay.
So I'm like, instead of us, hey, we've been dating for 10 years and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, well, we definitely should get engaged. So at least it shows the progression of our relationship. So we got engaged and then we kind of waited about 3 years before we got married. But again, I felt like the relationship was progressing because now we had a different title. So it's more of a mental thing as well. So you're not, you're no longer a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Now you're a fiance. So just that different title, I think, helped with the transition to when we said, okay, well, now we're actually going to get married in
Right.
the aisle. So that's why I think things didn't change as much because we were already progressing in the relationship just by taking that engagement step. So I tell a lot of guys that I know, like, hey, man, if you see marriage down the line, just get engaged. Because you didn't pay for a wedding yet. You didn't really, do too much. You just bought a ring that you can get back. So it's not, like went and did anything too crazy. So if it's a girl that, you see yourself getting married to, then you should definitely get engaged. Because at least it looks like the relationship is progressing. And it's not, stuck. Because then people have family and families talking to them, regardless of what anyone says. Your girl has her friends, she has her family. They're not like, so what's going on? Like, you guys not engaged, or when are you guys getting married? So the ring is a way to kind of keep things moving. So the progression was easy peasy.
Gotcha. Just like walking up the stairs. That's it.
That's it. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this. I don't know if my wife's gonna see this and get mad at me, but so like
I should have cleared this with her first.
No, I'm just gonna say it. It's all right. I'll deal with the repercussions after. What is that saying? It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I'm just gonna do that. So this is like a behind the scenes thing. I don't think anyone else knows about this. So breaking news on your podcast. When we got married, our wedding, we got married in Belize. Like that's where my family's from. So we did like a 3-day thing. So the wedding was on Saturday, and then Friday we did like a welcome dinner. So that Friday we had like the biggest argument like ever. Like it was the wedding's off. It was crazy. And I'm like, well, we can't cancel the wedding. Like everyone's here. Like I'm like, we got to just get married and then get a divorce on Monday. But we have to get married on. So it was just like, those jitters that you get.
Yes.
The jitters are real, I will say, because we had a huge fight before the welcome dinner, and then the wedding went on without a hitch. Friday night was like the biggest fight. I don't think we've ever had a fight like that before. Like
Right.
it was the biggest fight. So yeah, I'm gonna say,
You said just get divorced on Monday.
yeah, I'm like, we can't cancel it. Like we're here, everyone's here, families. We got to get married. It has to happen.
Oh my gosh.
But we calmed down after, and kind of once we saw all our family, and it was kind of water under the bridge. But it was definitely, I think that was jitters on both of our parts. So it was kind of like, we really gonna do this? Like, are we sure we want to do this? So I think,
Oh my
right before you say I do, it's definitely real. Like those jitters, real people may say it's
that that is
definitely real.
hilarious.
You kind of try to talk yourself a bit. So yeah, that's what I'm saying
Oh,
about
I
that.
appreciate you sharing that with us because, I mean, like you said, it's real. It happens. Like a lot of people think that they're going to go into the big wedding day and things are just going to be peachy and happy go lucky, but it's like that's the true test. Like you have to be able to withstand any type of storm, any fight, any disagreement, and be able to find resolutions. And if you can, then that's the person for you. Like at least you made a good decision with this person.
Yep, that's what happened. That's what we were saying. We're like, listen, we got to do it, and we'll see what happens next week. But we're
Oh
still married, so it worked.
my God. I would have loved to be a fly on that wall. I tell you, boy.
Yeah, no one else knew about that. So
Oh, I appreciate it. This is groundbreaking. So, when it comes to even getting into a relationship, a lot of the times you find people lose themselves in the relationship. They no longer, and I've experienced it. I no longer, was into what I was into, but I was into what he liked. And, so why do you think it's important to still be able to identify yourself individually, even when you're in a committed relationship or a marriage?
So I think for men, like for women, it would make sense that you would kind of take on that role of your significant other. So that makes perfect sense. So as a man, I guess how you're going to lead the relationship.
Yeah.
Definitely, you should be independent of your wife, of kind of having your own beliefs and things that you like to do and certain hobbies, and definitely kind of bring them together. I don't think you should eliminate the stuff that your wife likes to do. So I think you kind of just combine them together, because we kind of get into, well, you know what, I don't want to do that, I just want to do this. And then your wife's gonna, or your girlfriend's gonna be like, all right, you know what, I'll do that. She's gonna do that. So I think it's having that balance, to kind of doing some of the things you like to do, and also doing some of the things that your significant other likes to do. And it's easier said than done. Like all the things I'm saying on here now, it's easy to say because
Yeah.
I've been through it already. So I had that adjustment period where I was like, all right, damn, I guess I have to do that.
Right.
I have to, watch Baking Championship, or, something that but I gotta watch the Food Network Baking Championship, and I don't care about that. But I'm
Right.
gonna watch it, and you know what? I'm gonna love the designs on the cakes for this hour, and then I don't have to worry about it. So
You're a team player. That's right.
you have to be a team player. With any team, you have your quarterback, you have your leader of the team. But what makes a good leader is someone that knows how to lead by taking into account what other players on the team are saying. Because as a leader, even though you're supposed to be the leader, you're not going to know everything. So
Right.
a good team is a person that has a good leader, and then also has other good people that are contributing to the team by saying, hey, let's do this, or we should do this instead, or hey, let's look into this. Even with sports, it's
Right.
the same thing. The best teams play well together, even if their best players not having their best game. Other guys are stepping up and having a good game. So I think it's the same analogy with a relationship.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So I got a question from one of the audience members, and they want to know when you are in a marriage and you come across challenges where, let's say, your significant other is not necessarily contributing towards the household where is beneficial for the both of you. Example, you work all day, your spouse works all day as well. You happen to come home before she does, and the dishes are in the sink, or food needs to be made. Are you going to wait for her to get home and cook or clean up, or are you going to take the initiative because you're already home and get it taken care of?
So I that's a good question. So I think with something like that, it's kind of, what you're good at. So for me, like I like to cook. And I'm a good cook. So for me, coming home and cooking, that's something
Hands
easy.
down.
So
Yeah.
if I'm a guy and I really didn't know how to cook, then kind of coming home and cooking may be something that I really wouldn't want to do. So I think, if you're not gonna cook, then you have to at least get other things going. All right. So I didn't cook, but I, did. You guys are both, working at the same time and both coming home, kind of you're coming home later than she is, or she's coming home later than you. I think it's kind of doing what you're good at. So that's what I would say to that person is that,
Mm.
you guys should speak about, hey, we're together, so we know who knows how to cook and who doesn't. So the
Right.
person that knows how to cook should kind of still cook. That
Yeah.
doesn't know how to cook, maybe you can kind of take things out. We all have that story, like that meme, I didn't take out the chicken meme. And then your mom comes home like, yeah, you didn't take out the chicken. So
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
it's that same thing. Hey, you know
That
what?
same
I'll just
scenario.
get everything for you. Yeah. So, because when you're younger, you're not gonna cook. So your mom's like, hey, take out the chicken, do something to
Yes.
contribute. So that's I would say to do that. Like take out the
Okay.
chicken.
Okay. So do what you're good at, or at minimum, take out the chicken.
Do what you're good at. Yes. Do what you're good.
Okay. So the other question is, why is it once you get into a marriage, a committed relationship, there's almost like a sense of entitlement? For example, you and your significant other, when you guys were dating, were having wild monkey sex. Cool. When you get married, the sex drive dies down. And, as the husband feels like, well, if I want some, I should be able to get some because you're my wife. I made that commitment to you. Why do you think a situation like that exists? Where it's almost like entitlement because you've placed titles on the relationship.
Yeah, so with anything, I think especially like, sexual things is that, of course, when you're just being with someone, of course, it's going to be a different experience than when you're with the same person for years and years. So I think
Right.
keeping that spark is there. I think a big thing as a guy is kind of setting our expectations
Mhm.
of, what sex will be like as being married. Not saying that it's not going to be good, but the
Right.
whole like, I want to have sex now thing,
Mm,
to me, that was just never my thing.
mm.
I wanna enjoy it, and if you're not really gonna be into it, then it's kind of like, all right, what's the point?
Yeah. Right.
So I think it's best to kind of find that balance on, when we're gonna do stuff,
Mhm.
and I think that works good as well. Is kind of having those days where, okay, well, I come home early on Wednesdays, so
Mhm.
that that's your day.
Right.
So I think having that allotted time. People try to make fun of that, but it works. It works for us,
Yeah.
especially now with the baby. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have time where you're not gonna be you're all gonna be together. So you need to have time where you're not all gonna be together. So I think
Yes.
making an adjustment. So that's what I would say for guys that just give your woman a break. Like
Yeah.
can't have sex all day. Like there's
Right.
to do in life besides having sex. So
Right.
you got to just give her a break and just wait till the next day. It's 24 hours, so
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Especially if y'all live together. I
Yeah,
mean,
if you live together, then it's like, all right, man, it's 24 hours, like it's not that serious. But a
yeah.
lot of guys do put a lot of value in sex, so
Mhm.
I think that's why they kind of go crazy on, oh my god, I want to have sex every day, which is not normal to begin with.
Mhm.
So I know I've had friends even before, like, hey, we had sex 10 times, and I'm like, why did you do that? Uh,
Why?
why would you do, like, it makes no sense. But to me, I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, no.
But so I'm all about like kind of spacing things out, kind of keeping that spark going. And if
Right.
you're constantly having sex, there's no way that spark can stay there because you're just doing the same thing too many times. So I
Right.
think
Yeah.
those days apart, I think that's well needed.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Mm. So, well needed sex. How did you know you wanted to be a father?
It was something that I always wanted. So it wasn't something that I was like, oh well, this week I want to be a dad. It was kind of, something that I always wanted just to keep the family name, keep the generations going. So I knew I wanted to be a father. Whether I had a boy or girl, it wasn't like, I needed to have a boy or I needed to
Right.
have a girl. It was just, I just wanted to have a baby.
Mhm.
So it was something I knew that I always wanted to do. So, because my dad was a good dad, I would say he was a great father. So it kind of made me want to have children as well and kind of take good things and some of the bad things that he did, some of the good things, and kind of use that to not make some of the mistakes that he made because of course no one's perfect. But I think
Right.
as the next generations go on, you should kind of try to get as perfect as possible because you have those examples of certain things. I know people have like hitting, not hitting, and I think just with different times, like for me, I'm
Right.
not going to hit my kid just because of the times that we're in, like it's not necessary.
Yeah.
And that you would get in trouble for
Yeah.
money related, and now you don't really have, like, I don't have those same issues. So I don't see, like, the disciplinary side being completely different. So I think that's what I mean by kind of taking some of the things that worked and then kind of taking the things that that's just not needed.
Gotcha. Okay. So, wow. Just parenthood, period, is just breathtaking because it's like you have to. First of all, they don't come with little owner's manuals and service maintenance schedules and stuff like that. You just have to figure it out. Like a lot of like me as a mom, I had to figure out raising a boy. Like, dude, morning wood, or what the hell? Like, just discovering himself, and then the pee. Teach him how to pee standing up. So sometimes, just changing the change of life and the adjusting itself can be a lot to go from no child to child. So, but as with you being a man, how has being a dad expanded your mindset as a black
It I kind of already had like a certain consciousness to my life anyway, as
man?
far as my son. But of course, you have like certain belief systems, like the shots or no shots or
Yeah.
doctors to use. So I think it's important to kind of have already certain things that you believe in before you have the child, and then you kind of instill certain things into them. He's a baby now, so there's certain things that he doesn't really have to worry about.
Yeah.
uh, the doctor part was a big thing. We did a home birth. uh,
Oh.
I see black women dying at the hospital
Yeah.
regardless of your income level. you know
Right.
we're blessed. I can pay for a doc, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That the financial side, that wouldn't be an issue. And then when I was doing research on the cases, I was seeing that race was the only reason. It wasn't a money issue. Like, people were going to the best hospitals and still dying there. So
Yeah.
I would never be able to forgive myself if something like that happened to my wife, where we went to the hospital and something happened to her and we just kept the baby.
Yeah.
um, so I just couldn't put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
So went and just did a home birth. That was something that we were talking about doing. And I'm like, yeah, we can't go to the hospital. So we have to, go do a home birth.
Yeah.
So we did a home birth, and that was like the amazing experience.
Oh.
Oh, I would tell everyone to do it. Like, don't go to the hospital. It's overrated. Like, do it at home. It's so much more. It's a better
More
experience.
relaxing.
Definitely more relaxing, and it was just a better experience. And I had friends that had babies and they're like, oh, labor was so long and the baby just popped right out. Like it was,
Yeah.
he came right out. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be like a 2-day event. And
Whoa. This is like a
people like, oh, 20 hours,
overnight concert?
yeah, 15-hour labor or 20-hour labor.
Yeah.
But the baby came right out. So I would say that, how you start that process before having the baby, even before we got pregnant, because it's something that we decided to do, like, hey, we're going to have a baby now. So like a month and a half before that, like we didn't drink. And like I used to smoke, so I didn't smoke. I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. Like I went vegan.
Aw.
So I didn't eat anything crazy, like no fried foods, like detox, like went on like a strict regimen before we had the baby. And then even during the pregnancy, like, making sure, not doing certain things, not drinking, even though doctors say, hey, you can drink, like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no drinking, not eating certain things, like kind of sticking to a strict regimen, doing the home birth, drinking all our natural stuff. So now when the baby's here, like a lot of people are like, oh my God, he's so quiet, he's so this, he doesn't cry, he doesn't do
Yeah,
this.
he's
I'm like,
chill.
I think it was because all of that stuff that happened like before he was born. So I
Right.
think that a big part, and I'm seeing it now. Like people told me about it, but it's one thing when you actually live it and like, oh, you know what, that was a good idea. So because now we can see him and he's very smart, very alert, very aware. So I think the how you do things before you have the baby, I think that will kind of give you a jump start. So did it change anything for me as a black man? I'm gonna say yes, because it made me take those necessary routes. Like I'm staying out of the hospital, not doing any of that stuff, not going the traditional route. So I
Yeah.
think us as black men and black women in general, like we have to kind of take our own path. So I think doing the simple hospital route, I don't think that's the right way to go. And I'm not, judging what other people do.
Right.
I'm the only person that did it out of everyone I know, and they're all black. So
Mhm.
I can't say like, we're the only, it was just us and everyone else. Like it was,
Right.
we were the only ones that did it. So I know I have someone else that's having a baby and they're going to the hospital. I'm like, listen, you have to do what's best for you guys.
Right. Yeah.
We did what was best for us, and that's it.
Oh my goodness. Well, it definitely worked out because boy, I'm telling you, your son's on chill mode 24/7.
He is, so that's good. So, and he's aware, he knows, like, because people see him as chill, but when he's home inside, he's like nonstop, screaming, like random words. How babies are, so he's like super hyper.
Yeah.
But as soon as he gets on that video, he's calm, or he goes to someone's house and they're like, he doesn't even talk. I'm like, yeah, but watch as soon as he gets in the car, he's back. As soon as he gets inside
He
his
said he's
house,
back.
he's 100% like talking, making noise. But so I'm like, I guess he's aware of, all right, I'm at someone else's
Yeah,
house.
best behavior.
Yeah, let me just, fake it till I make it. But
Right.
I go home, I'm,
Giving
back.
it up.
Right now he's like grabbing on the Christmas tree, and we're like, all right,
Oh.
like pull down the tree. So we had to like not put ornaments on the bottom,
Right. Yeah.
just like nonstop, just pulling the tree and eating the tree. And we're like, all right, well, we gotta like put a cage under the damn tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Just under the tree.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So he's at that stage now where he's, kind of eating everything, like every single
Yeah. Everything goes in the mouth. Just everything.
everything. He has if he was right here, he'd be eating
Chewing
my
on those strings.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Wow. So now, did the way that you and your wife resolve challenges change once your son was born?
yes, because you kind of have to, you want to kind of like set an example for the kids. So
Yeah.
even when we have like our disagreements, like, kind of waiting until he's going to bed or something like that, just not, living the same life. So yeah, it's definitely an adjustment on when you do certain things. So you kind of wait, or it's good to have help too. That's another good thing. We have a lot of help. Like my mother-in-law she doesn't work. She's retired, so she's home. So then
Mhm.
you are able to drop the baby off, and on the weekends, my mom's home, so she'll watch the baby, or she'll come over the house and watch the baby. So I would say that support system is. I don't know what I would do if I'm at a support.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all the single moms, like, you guys deserve everything. I don't even think I could, raise the baby on my own. Like my wife does like everything, like
Yeah.
a majority of it. So I kind of just get to sit back and enjoy like when he's playing. Uh,
Yeah.
but like crying and diapers and bath and all that stuff, like
Yeah.
that's all her. Like I haven't even given him a bath. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that. Um, so
It's okay because I'm sure there's a lot of fathers who haven't.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like she does all of that. So she gives him a bath, she puts him to bed. So I'm like, I think the dads kind of step in when they're like a little bit
A
older.
little older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
When the fun time kicks in, and
yeah,
that's when he can actually talk and interact with
yeah,
you and do things.
yes, yeah.
That's when the
So,
fathers want to kick
yep, yep. So I think that's what happened.
in.
But that beginning stage with the moms, I'm like, man, it's amazing how the baby responds to his mom. Even if he's in a fussy mood and I pick him up, he's not having it. As soon as I put him down and his mom picks him up, he looks at me and smiles. Like so, it's crazy
Yeah.
how the babies know like their mother and how close they want to be with them. So I think that maternal thing is it's amazing just watching it firsthand.
Yeah.
So for guys, we have it easy when it comes to the baby being born.
Uh,
And we have it easy.
yeah, I
Even
really do.
firstborn, like his mom woke up, fed him. Like I didn't have to do any of that
You
stuff.
just knocked out those.
Yeah, so I'm passed out, and she's like, the baby's up, and I'm like, damn. So she's getting up, feeding him, and doing all that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been pretty lucky as far as like taking care of the baby when
Right.
he's hurt. But
Yeah.
stuff, we're always together. So,
Yeah.
but that kind of nurturing side, it's been all his mom.
Yeah. It's a very special connection. But it's also the bonds and the relationships between the child and the mom and the child and the father. They're similar but different at the same time because a girl will cling more to her father
Yeah,
and the
that's
boy will cling more to the mother. And so it's always interesting because then when they get older, it's almost like it reverses where the girl then tries to cling more to the mom because she can relate to the mom and the boy can relate more to the father. He can see himself. So it's always interesting, man. I tell you, life and children and just growing up is you never know what you're going to get at all. So
seeing that. He's 7 months now.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm seeing that every day is something, and I think just getting used to kind of being on someone else's time.
Mhm.
Because before, us, I can get up whenever I want. I can do pretty much do whatever I want in the
Right.
confinement of like my own home. Of
Yeah.
so kind of getting that adjustment where I know at like 7 o'clock, like I have to wake up now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's gonna come every morning. His mom's gonna bring him in our room, and the
Yeah.
day is started.
He's the
Uh,
boss.
yes, so I think that's a big adjustment too. Is getting used to that. Well, all right, you know what? I have to. I got to go to bed earlier now because I have to get up at 7.
Yeah. It's like
Or
a job.
yeah, it is. When before, I could wake up at 10 o'clock and kind of stroll out of bed and look at some emails and kind of get
Yeah.
started. So now it's like, all right, I wake up, hang out with the baby, and then I kind of mosey my way into the office. So I
Yeah.
think quarantine's been amazing for that, by the
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
So I know, outside of other issues with people and the sickness,
Mhm.
if I take that out of it, for us, it's been, amazing. I'm home, get to work from home. So I
Right.
can kind of just mosey, into my office. Then I can go back in lunch, hang out with the baby.
Mhm.
But even when I was working in that office setting, I always kind of went home and, we would work out together. So
Mhm.
that was also another part of it is still having that time together. And I think
Right.
it goes back to what I was saying is like not your wife not having a boss. So
Yeah.
now you have to ask permission to kind of go home. She's already kind of doing that.
Yeah.
A big thing where you guys can kind of do certain things together during the day, whereas other people aren't able to do that. And I think that kind of brings you guys closer together. And also, you end up seeing the world completely different.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely. So, if you could give one piece of advice to those who they may be single, they may be enter in a relationship, or even they can be in a marriage, what piece of advice would you give them when it comes to keeping the spark alive?
I would say the first thing, as far as like keeping the spark alive, like before you can do the spark thing, especially if you're a single guy, is kind of just being happy with yourself first. So I know that may like sound cliche, but for men, like your energy is very important. So I think for you, you have to boss up,
Right.
and by bossing up, that will keep your spark alive, because then now you can do certain things that other people can't do. Like you can just say, hey, let's go tomorrow, and you guys can go tomorrow.
Right.
So that's how you keep the spark alive. Even in a relationship, it's the same thing. Like as a man, you have to be able to do certain things in your life, and if you can't, it's going to make your relationship very difficult. Whether she loves you so much, or you guys are, it's gonna be an issue,
Yeah.
because there's certain things that you just can't do. So I think you have to have that boss energy, and I think that will kind of go a long way for you, because then you'll be able to see the world a certain way
Right.
and do certain things that the average guy isn't doing. And that's not a money thing either.
Right.
That's a mindset thing. That's not even about how much money you have, because
Hmm.
you can take a drive somewhere and it's not as expensive as flying. So I'm not talking about spending thousands of dollars on a trip. I'm
Right.
saying, hey, just being able to leave on a Monday. Hey, let's it's cheaper during the week. So
Yeah.
while we're paying $500 to stay on the weekends, you can spend half that because
Hmm.
you're going during the week. But you need that boss energy to be able to do stuff like that. So that's what I would say would be my advice to any man out there, is that you have to boss up.
Yeah. You
That-
hear that, people?
that-
Boss up. Damn it.
That's it. That- that's the simplest advice that I would give them. Like if you're
Yeah.
a man, like, you kind of have to go home and kind of look at yourself and see what you're doing, and how can I change this? Because you to be able to lead someone else, you have to kind of be leading your own path.
Right. Yeah.
You're answering to someone else, then you can't lead your own path.
Right. Yeah. You can't beat to the sound of your own drum. Well, we have come towards the end of the show. Kareem, it has been amazing
Yeah,
to
it was
have you on.
real. Thanks for having me. I love this. This my
Yes.
being on, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I think it's your third time.
Oh damn. All right. So
Yeah, because
also
you were
put my name
on the
down there.
True Serum first when we were doing it on Instagram Live,
Yes.
and then you came back on. I think it was either the True Serum when we were doing a radio show, or He Said What when we were doing a radio show. And now you're on He Said What when we're streaming. So
Yeah, man. I'm like, I gotta just get my picture on the show, I guess, on that a stream that you send out. But yeah,
yes,
let me know when you want me back on. So I don't think
yes.
with like a group setting yet. So I think
Nope.
that'll be the
That's yes. When I do the panel discussion, that'll be the next
yeah.
one.
I gotta get on the panel. I think
I got you.
that'll be interesting. So,
Yes, I definitely got you. So I want you to go ahead and let the people know, how can they follow you? How can they support what you have going on? Do you have anything coming up that you want to mention? This is your time to shine. Let them know. How can they find
well, I'm on Instagram, so KB underscore in the no mortgage. That's scrolling down. So we do real estate. I do mortgages. My wife's a realtor. We have a couple other businesses, but those are our main things. So if anyone had any real estate questions, any dating questions, relationship questions, you can definitely reach out to me, send me a DM, and that's it.
you? Yes, that's awesome.
Yes,
Well,
like
thank you once
have
again.
to buy
Oh,
39.99 program or anything. So you just gotta send me a message. And
do you talk sports? Are you into sports?
I do sports. I watch sports. I do like the whole fantasy thing. I do some gambling stuff on the side, legal gambling, I should say. Uh,
Whoa. Okay, I was gonna say. Well, we have Simply Sports on Mondays, and Royal, who commented down below, says, come hang out on Monday night. So you are more than welcome to be a guest up there
watch
as
the game.
well.
I was like, damn, the game's at 8, but I'll be done at 9. So, yeah, so I'll about sports anyway. So,
Yeah, so you're more than welcome to come and kick it with us. We have a great time. I'm telling you, it's like comedy. Like I don't know nothing about sports, Kareem, but somehow I make it like it works. So
Yeah, explaining sports to someone that doesn't know about sports, it's too much. Because sports is so intricate. On like it just you can go down a deep rabbit hole and never come out for a month. So
yeah, or you can go outside the bubble and get some lemon pepper wings and
yeah,
melon cucumber from the strip club. So
that's it, man. These listen, that's bossing up. He's like, listen,
yes,
I gotta get the thing, so I'm gonna go,
the
and
hell with this bubble.
that's it. So yeah, no, I'll definitely come on the sports show. I watch sports, big sports guy. So
That'll be awesome. So I'll send you that information after the show. Well, guys, listen, it was a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this evening with myself, Simply Bree, and you have Kareem Baldwin. Make sure you follow the network's Instagram. It is He Said What Radio on IG. You can also find our YouTube channel, He Said What Radio Network on all across platforms. Okay, you're not gonna keep having me say he said what, because now I feel like I can't say it just a regular way without someone saying something to me. So make sure you guys continue to support the network. We are doing big things in 2021. I am so freaking excited. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Truth Serum, and we're talking about your fighting style. How do you resolve issues? How do you deal with problems and conflict? Do you run? Do you necessarily fight? Are you a physical fighter? Or do you just shut down? So tune in tomorrow, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same place. And I mean, shout out to Royal. Royal, him in the what? Shout out to Royal. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, for the support, and keep it locked. You guys have a wonderful evening. Bye bye.
bye.